Story time! Hey, who doesn't love a good story? I know I do, and from people that are 2 years old to 102 years old, they all love a story. And when you're giving a presentation, what you have to realize is to have a strong presentation or to strengthen your presentation, you need to tell a good story. You're not just talking to them, you're telling about things, you're presenting things to them, but you're telling the story to get your point across. And that's why becoming a good storyteller helps you with presentations, helps you with making YouTube videos, helps you with making movies, helps you with so many things in life. And that's why it's important to have some of those skills when you're making your next presentation. And the thing is when you're telling a story, it's always best to tell your story, right? Because you can tell your story from experience. You remember what it was like in that room. You remember what it was like on that day it happened. Like, I still remember when we got engaged with my wife, it was kind of a dreary day, but she had just gotten off there and she just fell in love. We were on this back, walkway, and there was a church behind that she really loved. I put the camera right there on the thing, hoping it wouldn't fall in the Grand Canal. And I pushed play, and she thought I was taking a picture, but then I actually got on my knee and then asked her to marry me, and I videotaped the whole thing, and it was just perfect. Yeah, that was my story. But if I try to tell somebody else's story, like if I try to tell my brother's story, my brother, when he got married, they went to a park. I think it was my sister-in-law's favorite park or something where they first met, maybe, I don't know. And then he dropped the ring in the car, and he was worried he lost it, she'd see it. And then when he finally got it, they're like, oh, what's going on? And it was like a really nice thing. Doesn't that story suck? Right? If my brother tells it, it's fantastic. If I tell it, it doesn't. Because telling my story is so much better, right? And that's why you need to tell your story when you're talking about your products, you're talking about your services, you're talking about what you're presenting, because then it makes it easier for you to talk about and tell a real story because it's your story, okay? And that's why you don't lie about stories, because people always figure it out in the end. And if you're going to be using stories in a presentation, another thing you want to make sure is there's actual reason that you're using it. Don't just tell a story to tell a story. That's like wandering off. Where's he going with this? Where's he going with this? No. You want to make sure there's a point for it, okay? So I told the story about me getting engaged and the story about my brother getting engaged, showing the difference from telling your own story versus telling someone else's story. There was a point behind it. So make sure there's a point behind your stories you're going to tell. And the thing is if you're telling a story, sometimes props can be helpful, okay? So what you have to realize is people learn differently, and you want them to learn your presentation, whether it's about your product, your service, about you, and people learn in different ways. So some people, they learn just by hearing, right? And some people learn by seeing things, right? And some people learn by hearing and seeing, and some people learn by doing, and by having a prop there to help you, whether it's a PowerPoint slide that can help get your point across, or maybe you have some of your product there to show them, to help them understand what your product does. Those kind of things can help people learn about your story, and also can help you tell your story as well if you have it with you. Because think about it. Wasn't it more helpful that I had the video of me asking my wife to marry her when I'm telling the story versus my brother's where I didn't have a story or I didn't have any props to show you? And so you think about that. And the thing is, though, sometimes you don't have a PowerPoint slide. Sometimes you're just standing here on a beach, and what you have to do is tell a story with your words, because you might need to present to people in an elevator when you're going to a meeting, or you might need to present someplace out in the middle of nowhere. You never know, or on the phone. Make sure you have a way to communicate in a way that really sells what you're talking about. It helps people visualize it in their head, okay, instead of just actually seeing it. And the thing is, a story doesn't have to be long. A story can be short. The point of the story is to get the point across. Why am I telling this story? What does it have to do with the main idea, the main points I'm trying to get across to you? The thing is, when you're telling these stories, remember to have a hook, okay? Because you just tell a story to keep going on, it doesn't make any sense. But you have that hook that brings it back, that ties the story into your product, into your service, into your presentation, the point you're trying to get across. That's going to make the story worthwhile and have much more impact with your audience, okay? So make sure you're thinking about these things when you're developing a presentation to help strengthen your presentation. Think about the stories you want to tell that's going to help people understand better. It could be your personal story, like I said, or maybe you talk about a personal journey that you had with one of your clients and the success that they had, and then you share that with them, and that ties things in. It's kind of like, oh, and in the end, did you realize that person was Sam Walton from Walmart? Like, whoa, what's going on? That can get people to really remember the story, all right? So I hope this helps you strengthen your storytelling when you're going to do a presentation, because being a good storyteller can help for so many things in life, from work to family to friends to not being the boring person at a party. So I hope that helps you know a bit more, and I wish you all the best. I'll say bye from here in Manhattan Beach in California. I guess we on Manhattan Beach, but it's actually Manhattan Beach is also the city, so I'm in and on at the same time. So grammar's not my thing. Bye.